the Keswick Malcontent side. He's playing 2 copies of Restoration Angel. A change I actually like a lot, a change I'm going to make myself on Magic Online in the modern leagues I play in.
Yeah, essentially 2 flex slots in the deck. We see Direfleet Daredevil sometimes. You see the 1 Dark Confidant, the 1 Malcontent.
Vial to start here for Hoey. Arguably the best start for humans, assuming you only draw 1. Cabinet of Souls, of course, naming humans for Matthew Hoey. And Jonathon Zacze will play a beautiful island and a vial of his own. And that is an invention. I think that's on my side of the bingo board. I think. There it is. A ding-a-ding. Catching up. Oh, I'm actually ahead of you now. That feels good.
Mm-hmm.
Hoey's going to put his vial up to 1. He's going to freeboot you. Take a look here at Zacek's hand. That Spreading Seas is a pretty nice target. You'll also find a Lord of Atlantis, a Marrow Regery, a Harbinger of the Tides, and a very pretty Mutavault.
And Spreading Seas, I think, is a critical card in the matchup here for Merfolk. He's likely to be outsized on the battlefield, and one of the easier ways to cheat it is just put Spreading Seas on a land and then manage the race via Island Walk.
Going to be tougher to do here as Hoey has a question or 2, it appears, on Harbinger of the Tides. He'll be writing down these cards, I believe.
Yeah, Zacek's deck here does not appear to be cheap. And it looks like there's a variety of Japanese language cards down there, and Hoey just getting some confirmation on what exactly Harbinger of the Tides does.
Well, we can take a look here at home. For those of you who don't know what Harbinger of the Tides does, is Hoey will pass the turn back over to Zace. It's one of the newer Merfolk. His vial will go up to 1 here for Jonathon. Blue, 2/2 Merfolk Wizard. You may cast Harbinger of the Tides as though it had flash if you pay 2 more mana to cast it. When Harbinger of the Tides enters the battlefield, you may return target tapped creature an opponent controls to its owner's hand. So it can cost 4. Sometimes some Merfolk can make it a little bit cheaper. And it's pretty good with Ether Vial.
Yes.
So there you are. Hoey's going to put his vial to 2. It's a vial mirror here. We'll see where Hoey wants to go with his 3rd turn of the game. Does have a copy of a Reflector Mage. Looks like Hoey has quite a few lands in hand, though. It looks like an Horizon Canopy and Ancient Ziggurat, and I do see a copy of Meddling Mage. Meddling Mage not going to be nearly as good when the opponent has Ether Vial.
Although it gives him some insurance here if something happens to the freebooter. So it's not the end of the world, because he can still Meddling Mage Spreading Seas and prevent Spreading Seas from going on in one of his lands and enabling a whole lot of Island Walk.
Looks like Hoey is considering an attack here for 1. And he will make that attack from 1 in the air. And Zace going to fall down to 19. At least it appears that way. These players maybe with a little bit of a standoff here. Okay, it's going to be Dismember. Well, your play of Meddling Mage on Spreading Seas makes a lot of sense now.
Yep.
I would say. Here's an Ancient Ziggurat. This will be a Meddling Mage. We'll get confirmation, but my assumption is the name will be Spreading Seas.
Yep. Nothing else. All the rest of Zacek's hand is just creatures, so that's all good through the vial. It's the only thing he can lock out.
Spreading Seas is the name. Master of the Pearl Trident, the draw there for Jonathon Zace. You see he's got his Spreading Seas in his hand upside down. Players do that nowadays to signal to themselves that the opponent knows that this card is in my hand, given that they have seen my hand. Zace will simply pass the turn back. No spell to play, no interest in attacking with the Mutavault. Back to Matthew Hoey will go. He'll pick up a copy of Mantis Rider.
Pretty solid draw here for Hoey, as getting through on the ground is going to be problematic soon. All the interlocking lords are going to be larger than what Hoey has available, certainly larger than the Meddling Mage, so getting in the skies is not the worst.
Hoey thinking about using the vial or casting the Mantis Rider. That is the question. It looks like he will use the vial to cast the Mantis Rider. Now maybe we will see Thais Lieutenant. We're actually just going to see an attack here for 3. The follow-up is a Horizon Canopy. That's land 4. Hoey will simply pass the turn back. Maybe taking a little bit more of a conservative approach here as Zace will be vialing in a Lord of Atlantis. We'll head back over to Hoey. Excuse me, we'll head back over to Zace. That was on Hoey's end step. Mutavault the draw here for Jonathon.
And Zacze would really like to have a second source of blue mana here, so he could play a Lord in a turn and also vial one out. Not the worst draw another Mutavault because they're going to be so large. And the Reejerey is nice too, as he can cast that naturally.
And there is Marrow Reejerey in combination with Lord of Atlantis. They're both 3/3s. Of course, the Reejerey from Lorwyn. Other Merfolk creatures you control get +1/+1. Whenever you play a Merfolk spell, doesn't have to resolve, you may tap or untap target permanent. Here comes the old 3/3 Lord of Atlantis.
But you do have to play it, so it doesn't interact with the vial.
Correct. Hoey's going to fall down to 17. Hoey is going to bust that Horizon Canopy. He's interested in a new card. He will find one. Time to untap and draw a card. Vial. See if it wants to go up to 4. It will stay at 3 as Hoey will draw a card. Picked up a copy of Noble Hierarch, did Matthew. And this is going to be everybody's favorite. Appears to be a Reflector Mage, maybe? It's going to be another copy of Mantis Rider, even better.
Yeah, I would prefer to have the Mantis Rider played now in attack because it's a clear shot, and have the ability to play Reflector Mage at instant speed.
This will be an attack for 6 in the air. That's going to bring Zace down to 7 if this goes according to plan, and it will.
And with the Thalia's Lieutenant in play, Hoey's got a kill lined up next turn with Reflector Mage at instant speed for protection of surviving this turn.
Master of the Pearl Triton's going to come on through the vial. All of those lords are now 4/4s. You saw Noble Hierarch via Cavern of Souls naming humans to close out Hoey's turn. Mantis Rider, real problematic card here for Merfolk. The skies is where you can beat them. They're normally better than you on the ground, given that the lords pump up all the other lords and all the other Merfolk in general.
Yeah, if the battlefield's largely uncontested, neither of these decks play a whole lot of removal. I think a normal Merfolk draw is going to outsize a normal humans draw. Just the way the lords intersect is better than the way that humans pumps its own threats. But flying is a major vulnerability. You're seeing it on display right now.
Yes, you are. This is going to be a Silvergill Adept revealing Harbinger of the Tides.
And you can see from Zache's perspective here, activating the Reejerey here and trying to find out some way if he can cobble together lethal. He can't be too confident about surviving next turn. A lot of cards kill him. But I think it's going to be too hard against Hoey's access to instant speed Reflector Mage.
He'll untap his own island there with the Marrow Reejerey trigger. Silvergill Adept will resolve. He'll draw a card, of course. Will Zace, and it looked like he picked up an island on that draw step. Like you, however, Patrick, I do agree. I think it will be simply too difficult because of the power of Reflector Mage. Here is an attack with all the creatures, Mutavault included. Mutavault will be a 5/5. You've got Master of the Pearl Trident as a 4/4. Same thing can be said for Lord of Atlantis and Marrow Reejerey.
Mantis Rider is a uniquely challenging card for Merfolk because not only does it fly, but it has vigilance as well, so Harbinger of the Tides is not an interaction point.
Yeah, all the words on Mantis Rider end up mattering quite a bit.
Yeah, the game's a damage race where they can't stop flyers and they can affect tapped creatures but not untapped creatures.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that's everything.
Yep.
That's
Does all the stuff.
yeah, that's it.
And it's funny, humans, that's really the only red card you'll find in humans. Sometimes you'll see Daredevil, Sometimes you'll see Kessig Malcontents, but for the most part, that's what your red splash is for, and it is certainly worth it. It is a game-winning card more often than not, as Noble Hierarch's going to jump in front of Mutavault. Looks like Hoey's going to take 12 and fall down to 5. Doesn't even use the Reflector Mage, oddly enough.
I think that's just the ace in the hole.
Just in case anything goes
Just
wrong.
in case something weird happens.
Is Hoey left with just Reflector Mage? Because I thought...
Yeah, I believe he had a Lieutenant in hand. If he doesn't, it's a lot more complicated.
Yeah, I thought I saw Lieutenant.
Well, you can go ahead here. I suppose the issue is if you play Reflector Mage and bounce the Silvergill Adept, let's say, you know about Harbinger of Tides, so he can bounce one ground creature and chump the other, and you're short.
Well, I guess he may have just drawn the Lieutenant. Okay. We thought he had it. Apparently he did not. There is Lieutenant. There's your trigger. Put counters on the humans. And now he'll attack there for 8 in the air, and that'll get the job done. So it's a timely top deck, actually, there for Matthew Hoey. That's going to get the job done. As he'll win game number 1 here over Jonathon Zacze. Humans up a game here over Merfolk. The power of Mantis Rider. It's a damage race. It flies. Haste matters too. Humans up 1. We'll watch game number 2 and examine those sideboards in just a moment. But first, a few words from those sponsors. We are back. Cedric Phillips, Patrick Sullivan here in the booth, watching Jonathon Zacze, better known as Nikachu, and second place at Grand Prix Vancouver a few years ago. He's playing Merfolk, of course. Very, very big Merfolk fan against Matthew Hoey, who is playing Humans. We'll start with Nikachu and his 4 Relic Virginia, his 4 Deprive, 3 Echoing Truth, 2 Tidebinder Mage, and 2 Kira Great Glass Spinna.
I like the 2 Tidebinder Mages. If the game is going to be really just a raw race, the Echoing Truths are probably okay, but not a whole lot else to bring in.
For Matthew Hoey, he's got 3 Kataki Wars Wage, 3 Sin Collector, 2 Dire Fleet Daredevil, 2 Reclamation Sage, 2 Is it Staticaster, a Zathard Necromancer, and a copy of Dismember.
Like here as well, I like the 1 copy of Dismember, and I think the Reclamation Sage are probably above board because tagging Aether Vial and I suppose Spreading Seas as well, so good.
Let's talk about the StarCityGames.com weekly sale here very quickly, folks, where you can save up to 20% off of what? Select Eternal Singles.
Yeah, head over to go.starcitygames.com/weekly sale and check it out. Make sure to be going back to the website once a week because there's a new category of sales. Starts every Monday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and for the time being, up to 20% off Select Eternal Singles.
Getting ready here for that second game. These players will be given that green light here in just a moment. Merfolk and Humans doing battle. Vial is where Zacze will start yet again. For Hoey, does he have a Vial? No, he's got a Champion of the Parish off of Unclaimed Territory. Of course, naming Humans, as that Vial will go up to 1. An Isle in the draw there for Zacze. You can tell he's a Merfolk enthusiast. Beautiful Vials, beautiful Mutavolts, and it looks as though those unstable islands are actually foil ones. Those are not cheap.
Also not cheap.
Yeah. Another Vial. Not great in multiples. As we head back over to Hoey. Horizon Canopy, Cavernous Souls. Those are in hand. Cavernous Souls will come down. We'll see what he wants to name. Probably Humans. Here's a Kitesail Freebooter. It'll be 2 triggers. One for the Freebooter, other one for the Champion of the Parish. Champ will get a counter. Freebooter will take a look at the hand. The Whiff. I see a Lord of Atlantis. I believe a Marrow Regery. A Tidebinder Mage. And there's one that is tricking me here at the moment.
The Trickster. See?
Ah! Well,
that is why.
Yep. I hook, line, and sinker there.
That is why.
There's Merfolk Trickster. 2/2 flash. For blue, whenever Merfolk Trickster enters the battlefield, tap target creature an opponent controls. It loses all abilities until end of turn. That's why I was getting got.
Mm-hmm.
Hoey, safe to attack here for 2 with the champion of the parish. So that's exactly what he'll do. Zacze will fall down to 18, and we head back over to Jonathon. Vile going to go up to 2. The other one is headed up to 1. He'll take a die off his deck. He'll draw a card. Picked up a copy of Dismember, it appears.
So much easier to play the game against humans when they don't have Vile.
Yes.
Set aside power level. Their creatures are all so good at instant speed. When they kind of just had to play face up at sorcery speed, just doesn't feel like the same deck.
Looks like Zaczek's going to come in here with Mutavault, it appears. Wants to sneak in a couple of points of damage if he can, and he will.
Same story as last game. He doesn't have double blue to cast anything out of his hand, so might as well just get busy with the Mutavault. Start viling in some Lords.
Head back over to Matthew Hoey now. A lot of cards in Hoey's hand, but as you mentioned, no Vile, like last game. A lot easier for humans when they do have a Vile. Hoey again winning Cincinnati. Team constructed open there with Andrew Tenjum and Joe Bernal as his teammates. We've seen Hoey have a lot of success over the years here on the SCG Tour, notably in Legacy with the card Stoneforge Mystic.
Mm-hmm.
Human again here with the Cavern of Souls. And we'll see a copy of Thalia's Lieutenant placed on the stack. If that does resolve, there will be a couple of triggers here. One for the champion of the parish, one for Thalia's Lieutenant, giving all the other humans +1/+1. The response appears to be Merfolk Trickster. We'll tap that, make it lose all its abilities. So it looks like it'll only get 1 counter as opposed to 2.
The Thalia's Lieutenant still triggers, and the characteristic human is not an ability, so you get that, but you don't get the champion of parish trigger that happens whenever human you control enters the battlefield.
Tricky indeed. As here's an attack for 2 in the air.
And part of the reason that Hoey had to do this was because he needed to get the freebooter up to a 2/3 to be able to attack with it because of the threat of the Trickster. Counters and +1/+1 counters and the stats of a creature, those are not powers. So it would remain a 2/3. But if he attacked with it just as a 1/2, Trickster would come down, he would lose flying, and then Zacze would be able to block.
And he'd get to eat it. Ow. Vile's on 3 and 2. This is exactly where Zacze wants to be. At this stage, here's what he wants to draw. All spells.
Yes.
Doesn't want to draw any more Viles. Additional lands that aren't Mutavaults aren't really going to be particularly helpful. Trickster going to swim on in.
And I'm mentioning all this because the concept of abilities is a little complicated because it's not called out on cards. So
Marrow Reegery is going to come down. Going to make Trickster a little bit bigger. And it looks like it's just going to be 3. The Trickster deals. And we're going to head back over to Hoey. Hoey will untap. He's got that 3/3 champion, 1/1 Thalia's Lieutenant, and a 2/3 Kitesail freebooter.
And as you mentioned earlier, this is where the ground starts to get really bad for Hoey. Zacze files in another Lord. He's got a Mutavault available to block.
We got another Cavern. We'll see what that one's naming. He's named humans with everything else thus far. He'll go with Angel this time. A little bit of a giveaway that he is playing Restoration Angel here this weekend. And this is Champion of the Parish. 2 triggers, 1 for the other champion, 1 for the Lieutenant. Go ahead, partner.
Zaczek's deck could easily be playing counter spells, so he's got to give away that information to make sure that the Restoration Angel is uncounterable should it come up.
This will be a Zathra Necromancer. If this resolves, there will be 3 triggers. Zache will take a look at the Necromancer. We can do the same. Generally used for removal-heavy matchups. Not bad in the mirror either. And you'll get a response to the Necromancer. It'll be a Dismember there from Zache on the largest champion that perish on the battlefield. When Zathra Necromancer or another human creature you control dies, put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield tapped.
Yeah, I am a bit surprised to see it in this matchup. I suppose Hoey feels like if he can win the battle over Spreading Seas, a lot of the game is going to come down to him cobbling together double blocks, and then Zathra Necromancer could be good in those spots, but it is a little bit slow, and Zache is not playing all the removal spells in the world, so you do not commonly see the card coming in spots like this.
That one looks a lot better as a surprise through a vial.
Yes.
As opposed to hard casting it on turn 4 like we've seen here. That much is for sure.
It's also really vulnerable to the Trickster at instant speed. If you make these blocks trying to, I'm willing to double block because I'm going to get 2 zombies, it's not the end of the world, and your Necromancer loses its abilities.
That's news.
Really bad.
That's bad news. You'll see Dai's Lieutenant and Kitesail Freebooter. They're coming into the red zone. 3/3 Lieutenant. 2/3 Freebooter. But if the thought process here is I just need to be able to buy myself a little bit of time with these double blocks potentially and all that good stuff, then Necromancer doesn't look so bad.
Yeah, if you think it's gonna, if you think your game plan, which we basically saw in game 1, is win in the air and jump on the ground, Necromancer plays fine in that style of game.
Lord of Atlantis will come on in through the vial as Zache will leave his vials on 3 and 2. He'll draw a card. Still has that Tidebinder Mage in hand.
Against a sea of white and black creatures.
Not great. Not great, Bob. Zache, or as he goes online as Nikachu. A lot to think about here. Very seasoned Merfolk player is Zache. Again, second place at Grand Prix Vancouver a couple of years ago. Do wonder how he feels about his humans matchup. It does seem to be a pretty difficult one. Well, when times get tough, attacking like this doesn't seem so bad. Here comes the Trickster, the Lord of Atlantis, and the Marrow Regery. Mutavault hanging back. Remember, we saw Mutavault just get in on the second turn of this game.
Yep.
So that leads me to believe he's probably drawn some sort of spell, maybe another copy of Dismember.
I think that was the draw step, and not a great spot here for Dismember, with Zache's life total falling as low as it is, and the Zathra Necromancer on the other side.
We have blockers, it appears. This is the double blocking that you spoke of.
Yeah, this is the spot where Necromancer is going to be okay in the matchup. Is I can trade off or save myself a little bit, and if you have a trick, or you just get to a size to kill all my creatures, it's not the end of the world. I at least have some chump blocking the next turn that I get to do.
We could have that Dismember show up here in just a moment. I agree with you. It would be a rough one to cast.
I don't think I would Dismember anything right here. I think I would just leave the table as it is. You got to win the fight over the flyer. If you Dismember the Zathra Necromancer and don't have a response to the Freebooter, you're dead to all sorts of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Got to order blockers first. Now you can vial. Okay. Going to vial another Lord of Atlantis. Well, it looks like 9 damage is going to come through here. Have a couple trades, all that jazz. Zombies. Hoey's going to untap. He's got That freebooter that's still a 2-3 in the air. Thalia's Lieutenant, which is a 3-3 on the ground. And then two 2-2 zombies from the Zache Necromancer triggers. Curious to see if Hoey can cross the finish line here. He knows about the Tidebiter Mage in Zacek's hand. He can't put that on the battlefield right now. So he sees a Mutavault that can block along with the Lord of Atlantis. Keep in mind that Mutavault very large. Very, very large Mutavault.
And keep in mind also that Hoey is way dead on the way back if he makes some sort of alpha strike here. He's going to have to leave some blockers.
Looks like he's going to send in with just 2 damage in the air via the freebooter. It looks like Hoey actually does have Restoration Angel in hand, too, so this could be a little bit interesting here.
It's really bad news for Zace here if he goes ahead and dismembers this freebooter. He falls to 3, and then the Restoration Angel is lethal the next turn.
Yeah, that would be bad news for sure. Restoration Angel saving the freebooter, too.
Yeah.
Which would be a good time. Freebooter not looking great on offense or defense here, but a great time for freebooter to block.
Especially if Zace falls to 3, then it gets really good.
Yep.
Because then your Restoration Angel is lethal the next turn. You can afford to chump block with the freebooter.
And here is that Restoration Angel in response to that dismember. It will target the freebooter. That'll enter the battlefield. That'll also put a counter there on Thalia's Lieutenant. That could end up mattering. There's your trigger. Tidebinder Mage is the card. Hoey knows that one. So Restoration Angel looks great there. Horizon Canopy will be the land. Pass the turn back over to Zace. He'll untap. Not sure what Zacek's best draw is here.
Spreading Seas.
You said it.
And you just walk on over.
Yep, you said it.
But otherwise, Hoey's got enough chump blockers to manage what's on the ground here and a lethal Restoration Angel.
Or what appears to be close to a lethal Restoration Angel. Harbinger of the Tides would be a good draw.
Yes.
Just remember that one, actually.
Yep.
So a couple of good draws here for Zace. Looks like he's going to fire up the Mutavault. And, interesting. Only a couple of creatures are going to come in here. The Lords are going to hang back on D. You got a large Mutavault there. It's going to be a 2-3-4-4. The Trickster also going to be a 4-4. So these are not lethal attackers.
Yeah, the issue is if he attacks with everything, then Thalia's Lieutenant is in a position to swallow up one of the Lords of Atlantis, and then the attack looks really bad. You're dead for sure on the way back, because then the Thalia's Lieutenant and the Restoration Angel are both lethal attackers. Yep. These are both 4-4s, so you're either trading off with the Thalia's Lieutenant or Hoey's chump blocking or double blocking or whatever, but once the Lords of Atlantis get in there, Hoey has such a premium block on the Lord of Atlantis that it doesn't make much sense.
Zombies! And Thalia's Lieutenant, I see some double blocks here. Hoey going to think about some things here before locking this in. It looks like, okay, it is locked in. There are your trades. Hoey going to remain at 6. Zace will pass the turn back. Let's go back over to Matthew Hoey. He'll draw a card. Remember, he's got a Rising Canopy that he can sacrifice to draw a card with. So he will start there. New card coming for Hoey. He'll play an Ancient Ziggurat. He picked up another copy of Restoration Angel. Well, there's a lethal attack. Is that going to do it? The answer appears to be no. There's Harbinger of the Tides. Timely top deck there for Zace.
I'm a little surprised there because I believe Hoey's draw step was a Restoration Angel.
It was.
I'm surprised he wouldn't cast it to see what the hand is.
Okay.
Because you don't need the freebooter either way. That's not involved in the combat. But if you drew Harbinger exactly, you can just say go, and then the next turn
attack with both Restoration
Angels. But now you're down to just the one, and that Restoration Angel might end up having to chump block this turn, and then you have nothing.
Then we have some serious trouble. And I think this Restoration Angel probably has to chump block this turn.
Yep.
You make a very, very good point there, partner.
Sometimes you just need to scope out the goods.
Yeah.
You just need to take a little look. Oh.
So what do we have here?
It says the Lords are 3/3s, and he didn't have a Lord of Violin.
Well, and that's going to take care of it. So Matthew Hoey is going to win game number 2 here over Jonathon Zace, which means he will win the match. Humans will take care of Merfolk 2-0. And for Matthew Hoey, he is 2-0 here in Minneapolis.
Deck looked. That's a really impressive win there in game number 2, being on the draw, not having Vial versus Vial.
Yep.
The Merfolk deck is just a little bit vulnerable in the air, and there are some measures there. You have your Tricksters, you have your Harbinger of Tides, you have your Tiebinder Mages, but it's hard to get those cards to line up exactly the right way.
Yep.
It's not like I had this and it answers that cleanly. Other things have to kind of be materializing for those cards to work effectively. Couldn't quite cobble together. The Dismembers were good, but with Hoey pressuring his life total,